Good morning, everyone. My name is Kurt Huntsinger. On behalf of everyone here at Habeff, Arrogeti & Wynn, I'd like to welcome you to a panel discussion, Accessing Capital in These Uncertain Times. Before we begin our discussion, however, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce you to the members of our panel. Jim Green, here on my left. Mr. Green is President and Managing Director of TM Capital. Previously, Mr. Green was Managing Director and Head of Corporate Finance for Prudential Securities Investment Banking, where he assumed overall responsibility for the firm's corporate finance group. During his tenure at Prudential Securities, Mr. Green was responsible for a diverse group of middle-market consumer and industrial client relationships, which resulted in nearly 200 completed transactions valued at over $15 billion. Prior to joining Prudential Securities, Mr. Green was a Vice President in the investment banking group, Thompson McKinnon Securities. TM Capital is an independent investment banking firm based in New York, Boston, and Atlanta, which has completed over 200 mergers, acquisitions, and financings with a combined value in excess of $11 billion for its global roster of clients. For 20 years, TM Capital has provided its client companies with the expertise, resources, and focus necessary to structure, negotiate, and close strategic transactions. TM Capital is a member firm of M&A International, the world's leading alliance of mid-market investment banks. Next to Jim is Mr. Tom Avery. Mr. Avery is a Managing Director and Head of Financial Sponsors Group at Raymond James & Associates. Mr. Avery joined Raymond James in 2000 as a Managing Director in the Technology and Telecommunications Group. In 2006, he assumed leadership of the newly formed Financial Sponsors Group. Prior to joining Raymond James, Mr. Avery headed the Investment Banking Division and was Chairman of the Equity Capital Committee at Wachovia Securities. Prior to that, Mr. Avery was a General Partner at both Norah Mosley Partners and Summit Partners. Mr. Avery began his investment banking career with the Robinson Humphrey Company in 1977. Raymond James & Associates is a diversified middle-market investment banking firm. With approximately 150 investment banking professionals, the firm supports a national practice focused on the public equity markets as well as financial advisory services to include mergers and acquisitions advisory. Over the past 5 years, the firm has managed over 400 public equity offerings, including initial public offerings, and completed 250 M&A advisory and private placement assignments. And at the far end of the table is Mr. Randy Karchmer. Mr. Karchmer is a Managing Director and co-head of the Mergers, Acquisitions, and Financial Sponsors Group of Morgan Keegan. Mr. Karchmer joined Morgan Keegan in 1994 and is responsible for the firm's M&A and financial sponsors practice. Since 1989, he has focused his career on advising middle-market clients in exclusive sale, recapitalization, and private equity-raised transactions. Before joining Morgan Keegan, Mr. Karchmer was a corporate attorney with Mutt, Schellis, Dennenberg, Ament, and Rubenstein in Chicago, Illinois. Morgan Keegan & Company is a premier regional investment firm offering full-service investment banking, securities brokerage, wealth, and asset management. Morgan Keegan's investment banking group provides merger and acquisition advisory, public equity, and private capital services to public and private middle market companies, as well as private equity and venture capital funds. The investment banking team has closed 400 transactions representing more than $100 billion in deal value since 2000. As you can see, we have a lot of firepower sitting up here. This should be fun, so we'll get right into the questions.